Daniel James was known by many as an intelligent, strong-willed, lovely-natured, and talented young rugby player who seemed destined for a professional career. He played for England at under-16 level and went on to play for Loughborough University, where he was an engineering undergraduate, but only 4 days after he helped England students beat a France side in Oxford, things took a drastic turn for the worse. On the 12th of March 2007, 22-year-old Daniel suffered a life-changing injury during a scrum in one of his rugby training matches. His neck vertebrae had dislocated, trapping his spinal cord. This left him paralysed and with no feeling from the chest down, along with no movement in his hands, constant pain in his fingers, uncontrollable spasms in his legs and upper body. Unable to walk, he was confined to a wheelchair. His brain, however, was not affected. During the time following his accident, Daniel underwent several operations and spent 8 months in rehabilitation, supposedly only regaining a small amount of use in his fingers. At the end of this 8 months, his consultant said it was unlikely he'd ever enjoy a significant recovery. He lived in fear and loathing of his daily life, and felt, always being a fiercely independent person, that his body with so little mobility and therefore the need for 24-hour care had become a prison. He attempted to take his life on multiple occasions, twice by taking too much medication and once by taking a knife to himself. In March 2008, when Daniel applied to become a patient at the not-for-profit organisation Dignitas for assisted dying in Switzerland, he threatened his mother he would attempt to brutally take his own life again by moving out of the family home into assisted accommodation and starving himself unless they agreed to help him do it in a less traumatic way. Daniel's parents had tried repeatedly to talk him out of taking his own life, but at some point, they listened and began researching the organisation that Daniel had his heart set on. As much as Daniel couldn't bear to live his life anymore, Mark and Julie James couldn't bear to watch him suffer. Daniel's GP in the UK was aware of his plans for 8 months, and even doing psychiatric assessments and keeping detailed records, but did not alert the police on the grounds of patient confidentiality. Daniel was assessed by 4 Dignitas psychiatrists, and each found him to be rational, not depressed, and with the mental capacity to make decisions about his treatment. On 2 occasions, his family took him to Switzerland to meet with a Dignitas doctor who interviewed him to further ensure that his decision was doubtless, and it was organised so that there had to be a break between appointments in case there was any changes in his mindset. Police only found out what Daniel's GP knew the day he flew out of the country for one final time. On September the 12th, 2008, after being asked again several times by a doctor if he was sure about his decision, 23-year-old Daniel James received his wish and passed away peacefully at a Dignitas clinic in Switzerland from drinking a lethal dose of powdered pentobarbital dissolved in a glass of water. His funeral took place in the UK on October 1st. But after the death of their son, and upon returning to the UK, Daniel's parents, along with a friend of theirs who had paid over £12,000 to charter a plane which transported the family to Switzerland, were subjected to a lengthy and distressing police investigation as accessories to a crime under the Suicide Act 1961. Daniel continually expressed his wish to die and was determined to achieve this. He was not prepared to live a second-class existence. His death was no doubt a welcome relief from the prison his body had become and the day-to-day fear and loathing of his living existence, Daniel's father, Mark James, said at the inquest. His mother, Julie, however, did not speak at the inquest, but appeared drawn and emotional while listening to her husband. Mark and Julie James were not charged. Uncertainty about Daniel's decision didn't only come from the law. His physiotherapist said, "I was totally shocked. Daniel was improving and still had the use of his arms and hands. He could feed and dress himself. Most paralysed people do improve over time, perhaps 2 or 3 years after the accident." It was early days for Daniel. The Spinal Injuries Association also expressed shock. "When someone has an injury like this, you think it's the end of the world, as life is going to change forever," said Daniel Burden, head of public affairs. "But our mantra is that life need not end if you are paralysed. We know of people with similar or worse injuries than Dan who have lived fulfilling lives. A lot of people I have spoken to here are shocked he has taken his life." Daniel James was the youngest Briton to travel abroad for assisted suicide, but he is not the only one. He is among hundreds of others who have decided on the same fate. Every 8 days a Briton travels to Dignitas for help to die. The absence of an assisted dying law forces dying people to take drastic measures to control their death. Dignitas's motto is, "To live with dignity, to die with dignity." What is your opinion on this?